Hello again, this is Daniel Ritchie talking about compositing in Howler 9.6. We're going to do a match move shot from start to finish and talk about a few things that we did not talk about in previous episodes. First, we're going to talk about cleaning up the garbage from our green screen footage, which I might add was courtesy of HollywoodCameraWorks.com. Thank you for their work in providing footage for artists to practice their skills in compositing. Is something not a lot of people are doing for free, so it's we appreciate that, and we appreciate the ability to use their footage. I'm going to go ahead and start preparing this footage by removing these edges. Now let's look at this footage real quick. These edges are moving around quite a bit. Now previously we used the rectangle tool, that filled rectangle, and the Alt key. That let us draw a rectangle over every frame, but it was not optimal because these things are moving so much it's hard to tell exactly where to put those rectangles. So we're going to do something that simplifies that. We're going to remove the motion from this shot, and then we can put the motion back in later after we've made our corrections. So I'm going to go to the animated filter menu and stabilize. This is a camera stabilizer. It can be used to smooth out motion, but it can also completely remove camera motion. I'm going to go ahead and use the first option, select track point, and select this blue marker. When you're doing match moving, it is necessary to have a track point, so you always get these markers. It doesn't have to be blue. That just happens to be the color of tape they had when they shot it, I suppose. Alright, next thing, we're going to turn the block size down so it'll run a little bit faster, and the search area does not need to be all that large because it's a small frame. It's not very big at all. There's not a lot of motion in it. We're going to use reference frame 1, and we're going to have that checked. That means that every time this checks for a block, it's going to use this block from the first frame. This would default to checking the previous frame, but since this block is not changing shape, it will be more ideal to keep it referencing the first frame, simply because it'll give us a slightly better track in this instance. We are also going to turn off all the channels except blue. That means the tracker will see like something like a white dot or a gray block on a black background. If we had all three channels on, this green and this blue might average out to be just like one big gray field, and it might have a hard time tracking that. So that is why we have these three channel options here. Use them with discretion. All right. We're also going to set the mode to remove motion because we're going to restore it later. There's an option down at the bottom to restore the motion. And before border handling is going to be set to repeat instead of reconstruct. That's because we do not want to change these borders because we're going to try to restore this motion later. Let me click go. And as I've said before, sometimes you'll see the interface freeze up a little bit. That just means that the program's too busy to respond to messages, Windows messages. It doesn't mean the program's crashed. It just means it's busy. It's kind of a result of the operating system we're running on. Alright, I'm going to store a copy of this in case we make any mistakes in our work from here on. I'm going to just store it to disk. That way we can come right back to it later. And as you see here, our camera has now been almost completely, the motion is almost completely removed from that. And you can see the borders are now changing. So I'm going to use that fill tool, rectangle tool, with the Alt key. I'm going to make sure I've clicked on the comma key to bring up the color picker and select that green color. And I'm going to hold Alt, go to the first frame. Actually, I want to see how far this is going. This is where a ruler comes in handy. I'm going to click the ruler tool and just click right there because that's how, let's see, yeah, it never goes past there. So I'm going to go to the first frame, hold down the Alt key, and just fill in that area. You can remove this by clicking again on the ruler. I'm going to do the same for the other side. You got to be real careful that you don't clip out part of what you're rotoscoping. Let's see, I think her hand moves pretty far over here. somewhere right about there. I want to make sure I don't clip that. I want to make sure she does not go past this marker. And then all I have to do is go to the first frame, hold Alt, and draw a rectangle over that. Alright, we've done it. We've completely cleaned up this this green screen shot, except for this blue marker. We need that for later. So I'm going to store a copy of this. Animation, store animation to disk. You can do it to memory if you have a small animation, but don't get carried away. It'd be a little bit faster in memory. But when you have a solid state drive or even a regular hard drive, it does not take that long to store it to disk. All right, so we have our original. Then the original we locked, or we did the camera motion on. Now I'm going to go ahead and we have the cleaned up version. So I'm going to go ahead and restore that camera motion. Oh wait, one more thing I have to do is remove this this blue spot here. I'm going to hold the Alt key and just do that. Oh, that was close to that hair. That was real close to that hair, but we missed it. That was good. We almost clipped her hair. Oh, and I see a little area right there that needs to be clipped. Alright, now we're clean. There. Now I'm going to go ahead and restore the motion here. Let's see. I'm going to go to Filter, Animated, and Stabilize. As I said before, there's a restore motion at the bottom. Just click on that. This is the motion from our previous, what we previously did. I think I saw one more block in there where there was some edge showing through. I must have missed. Let's see. No, I don't see it. Oh well. There's one there I missed right there. Alright, we have a completely clean plate now. Let's store a copy of that. Let's see, store to disk. And we really don't need the original anymore. Or necessarily this one. Actually, we could have used the original. I'm going to go ahead and restore the motion on this one again. Let me bring this back. And I'm going to do this one more time. Let's see, under animated and stabilize, restore motion. Alright, we have one fully clean plate and we have one plate with a marker still in it. We're going to need that marker. So we're just going to quickly go into, I'm going to need a brush. The reason we use a brush instead of a normal image is because we can make it larger than the background. I just chose a few from my my traveling photos. I'm going to use it as brush, and we're going to go into the brush keyframer now. Let's see, animation, brush keyframer. There's that brush I just selected. We can scale it and all that stuff. One thing we want to do for now is change the opacity down, but we want to bring it back up later. We do that so we can see where we're placing this. That's really the only reason we do that. We can put it back up. Now be sure to put the opacity at 100% when you're ready to track a frame. That's essential. You might create a keyframe at this point. Go to the brush tracker, track brush right at the bottom. Select track point. Click on the main image, not inside the brush keyframer. That will now show up right there, right where you'd expect it to be. We're going to might change the block size a little bit, might try and change the track area down a little bit just for speed. We're going to use this frame only for reference. That's like that reference frame we had also on the camera tracker. Alright, once we've specified that track point, we want to make sure this checkbox is on that says specify a track point independent of the brush position. Normally the brush keyframer uses the center of the brush as a track position, and we want to be able to bypass that by selecting our own track point, which is that blue block. Alright, other than that, we just have to make sure this is set to use this frame only for reference. That's the same as that reference frame we used in the camera tracker. It just means it'll reference this first frame instead of every last frame. Since this is not changing shape, that'll give us a slightly better result for tracking. I'm going to click track. As you can see, it's following that little block. It will probably freeze up briefly. Doesn't mean the program's crashed, it just means it's busy. Doesn't have time to tell Windows what it's doing, I guess. Should only be a brief moment. And once we scrub through this, we can see, let me put them side by side, and we can see that our background or our brush is in fact matching the motion of this background plate. Alright, all I have to do now is render this. You could turn on the motion blur, but for the sake of speed, I'm just going to, whoops, wrong button, I'm going to hit the render button. And that is going to obliterate what we had there. So make sure you have a backup copy stored in memory or on disk. That should only take a moment. And we don't need the brush keyframer anymore. I'm going to store a copy of this now to disk and put it over here. Restore our clean plate, the one with all the parts removed that we wanted, all the garbage removed, the blue dot and all that. Restore that because we're going to green screen this now. I'm going to click on use as animated swap image on this background plate that we just created. As you remember, the background image, or the swap image, is like drawing on the back of the paper. In this case, we're going to use it as a background for our composite here. I scrub back and forth. That kind of makes sure it's been updated into memory. I can swap back and forth now to see it. And all we have to do is go to composite with swap and green screen. You can see here that we're pretty good, ready to go. You might want to adjust these settings, make sure there's nothing showing through the character. It should be all black on white. And turn off show matte. Make sure you adjust the amount of green removal so you don't see any green borders. This can make characters pink looking, so you might want to adjust your green color as well up a little bit. And click animate. And that should be all there is to it. You might see some shadows from the green screen that show through. We did a pretty good job there of removing them. I see a little bit of dirt or something up on the top of this, like the first upper scan line, so I'm going to redo that. There might be a few pixels up at the top of something. Click yes to restore that. Just like we use the Alt key and the filled rectangle, we're going to do that at the top. Just select the first few pixels or first few scan lines. Make sure we do not clip off the top of our head. That should give us a nice clean plate up there. Go through the exact same steps as we did before composite with swap and green screen. We haven't changed anything. Click animate, and we should finally be done with our shot. And that is basically match moving from front to back. That is from the beginning of the process to the end of the process. And that's all there is to it, really, in the case of this 2D match moving. I think we've done a pretty good job here. It looks alright. You know, the hair is a little rough. That could partly be the quality of our plate, and that could be maybe could use some adjustment, maybe some filtering, additional filtering. We've covered that a lot in the past. I'm not going to go over that again. Thanks for watching. This has been Dan Ritchie talking about Howler 9.6. New animation tools including improved green screen compositing, improved camera tracking, tools for match moving in the brush keyframer, and the new Alt, rectangle, and oval garbage matte tools. So thanks for watching again, and ta-ta for now.